Welcome to Native Calgarian and Mossy for listening. I'm your host, Michelle Robinson, speaking to you in Mokinstis in the Blackfoot Confederacy, home of the Nitsitapi, Sutina Dene, and the Yiharhi Nakota. I talk about history, current news, unheard news, book clubs, with special guests to give local or national issues a voice through an urban Satu Dene lens. My life's work will be to honor the voices of my ancestors and next generation with humor, love, and truth. Reconciliation is work, not performance. May we honor all Indigenous voices with that courage. Today is September 4th, 2025. Welcome to Native Calgarian Podcast. If you enjoy hearing Indigenous content by this Satu Dene woman, my Patreon account is Native Calgarian, where you can pledge and support. Thank you, previous donors, for showing your support. For those who cannot afford to give, I would love to hear from you at nativeyyc@gmail.com, where you can send in your comments or questions. Also, giving a review helps whatever medium you're listening from. I have a YouTube channel that you can go and subscribe, or you can go to nativecalgarian.com for more. And remember, please share the things you learn to your network. Oki, naganago mekoche chestokom aki, nara dago dekot nagotine siku saradi. My name is Red Thunder Woman. My married English name is Michelle Robinson. I use they, them pronouns. My Dene lineage roots me in the land of the Great Bear Lake Tribe in Treaty 11 in Delaney. I'm a native to Turtle Island, and my Dene Nation is uninvited to this area of Clinchotine Indahe in Satu Dene, meaning many big dog town, named after the Calgary Stampede. I was born in Calgary, or in Blackfoot, Mokinstis, as Michelle Elliott, an English name that has afforded me privilege in an English colonial world. Acknowledging proximity to colonial whiteness is important, and also the darker the skin, the more racism a person experiences in colonial spaces. My late great-grandfather is Milo Bewell from Delaney. His daughter Alice is my now late granny. My mother and I are Northern Slavey Dene, or Satu Dene, but my Indian Act Imposed status card by the Canadian government says Yellowknives Dene. Through my father, I am a daughter of the Mayflower and a daughter of the American Revolution. Having a Canadian Indian Act Imposed status card is a colonial construct by Canadian policies meant to divide Indigenous people's inherent rights. Indigenous Two-Spirit, or the Indigenous 2S LGBT community, and Indigenous women are at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder because of colonial trauma, imposed poverty, imposed racism, gendered violence, and land theft. I'm not a social worker nor an elder, nor do I speak on behalf of all Indigenous people. I just share my journey as a Dene mom navigating this ableist, colonial, misogynistic, racist world in 2025. I think of all of this today because we have to honor the many Indigenous lives lost for the so-called country named Canada. I hope you see your role in the importance of stopping harm as a citizen, see your role in reconciliation and as a treaty partner. Land Back is a movement that could save the planet from climate change created by colonialism, but it would be part of a treaty partnership, part of meaningful reconciliation, honoring global initiatives like the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. As a former drafter, I'd love to teach you more, but go to nativecalgarian.com if you would like to know more. Now, normally my guests would introduce themselves in their way, but I have a really special guest. He's so special. I have people that sent me all the awards he won already for all of the great work he does in the film industry. I am really, really honored to have, well, I would call you Trevor, but they said, absolutely, you must use my Blackfoot name. And they gave me the name Siksikakowan. But I wanted you to introduce yourself in your way, and then we'll go on to your award-winning, I guess, bio. It's incredible. Please go ahead and introduce yourself in your way.
Okay. Nistwanago Sinakson Naasa na nin Grekidopi. Nedutu Panakos Siksiga. My name is Trevor Solway. I'm a filmmaker from Siksika Nation. My Blackfoot name is Sinakson, which means writer, and it was given to me by my grandfather, Gerekidopi, Sunny Solway.
I love that. Thank you for telling us that. I think that it's really important we just start using our names. It's really hard for a lot of non-Indigenous to, I don't know why, learn Blackfoot. It's really, I've been really gifted to have your elders be so kind to me and teach me how to say my name. And then Leonard Kenny taught me how to say it in Sat so that that way I had some idea of how to say my name. I should probably learn how to say it in Dene from the Sutina because they speak a little different dialect. So I'm really happy to have you here. You're doing great work all across the world. I have here that awards that you've won already this year is like the Imagine Native Audience Choice Award in Toronto, the APTN Indigenous Spirit Award, Gimli International Film Festival in Manitoba. I only know about Gimli because I was a sea cadet. So what is it like in Gimli for the film festival? I'm like, I gotta ask him that first.
Oh, I wasn't actually there, like the film just screened there, but I did the yeah Q&A over Zoom, and like I know a few people have programmed there and yeah shown films there. It seems like it's a buzzing film community. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So right now, I know that you're really excited to release this one, Siksikakowan. Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yeah, Siksikakowan, The Blackfoot Man is a verite documentary that explores the experiences of Indigenous men in Blackfoot country and how they express their masculinity. And so it's an observational documentary about that.
Right on. I think because I talk about a lot about violence against Indigenous women, and I think there's not enough talked about basically the identity and cultural elimination of what it used to be a Siksika man and what it is like today and what reclaiming looks like. Does that kind of go into a bit of the documentary?
Yeah, I think that these are definitely themes, and I think that's something we um, wanted to explore. I think that when we first started talking about the film, it was around like toxic masculinity and how do we reclaim our own ideas of manhood back. And so the film is like it's not trying to lead you down one way or another or trying to make a specific um, pointed comment or about masculinity. It's just about showing that there's a spectrum of expressions and um,
I love that even more.
yeah. And I think that like these discussions around toxic masculinity, like um, I think for Blackfoot people, like to live up to that moniker, the Lords of the Plains, and to have like this kind of these stories about us always in like this fierce warrior mentality. And I think that there's truth to those stories, but I think that we also had a kind side and a peaceful side and like very community orientated people. Um, and so I think that when you look at this kind of warrior up or cowboy up or man up kind of mentality,
Yep.
it comes from a place of um, like a lot of Native men are trying to be like white men, like we're trying to live up to their um, standard of what masculinity is,
Hmm.
and I think a lot through like things like residential school and like racism on the prairies, like some men are really desperate for like white validation, and so they'll play up the warrior kind of mentality or like the macho-ness because they think that's what the kind of Indian that is expected of them through the images that we've consumed over the years
Yep.
in Western films and sports logos and Halloween costumes. And so, yeah, I hope this film is starting to kind of shake loose that rigid image of what it means to be not just a Blackfoot man, but an Indigenous man. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. One of my good friends is a Two Spirit fellow, and he has tried he's tried to educate people on the spectrum of what an indigenous, well, not indigenous, a Blackfoot man, and the terms specifically to gender diversity for Blackfoot men. And so I've really appreciated that as I try to reclaim. I have not heard language around Satu Dene other than for lesbian, which is what my daughter is identifying as. So that's an important term for me. And then when you talked a bit about the representation of the existing warrior mentality of the Blackfoot, like, do you talk about that media misrepresentation within the film in order to kind of showcase, like, hey, folks, you have a wrong idea of us because of this? Or is it something that you're just like, it's in textbooks? So, like, how do you like to deconstruct what non-Indigenous think of the Blackfoot man?
Yeah, so the film is verite, it's observational, and so like it isn't your conventional documentary. Like there's no interview kind of set up with fancy lights and like they're mic'd up and like the talking head interview that you might see in conventional documentaries, and or there's no B-roll of like somebody being like um you know uh riding horses is important to me, and then you see like them riding a horse in slow-mo. Like this isn't that type of documentary. It's purely pushed forward by real life moments, candid moments.
I love that.
And so um and I think that was a very intentional approach. And I think that like with we're trying to deconstruct that image not just by what we show on screen, but how we show it on screen. And I think that the way we've been taught to make films and consume films, especially documentaries, is in this very everything's very carefully like curated or like or shot and like I said, you'll have interviews and B-roll, or like there's a sequence that is recreated. Like I'm gonna have this powwow dancer dance on this hill, and I'm gonna get in a wide shot. Then I'm gonna go into like a medium shot, then a close up, and I might have a drone fly over. Like all those things are constructed in a moment, and are those are my ideas as a filmmaker that I'm projecting onto the subject. I think that's the way that like we've been taught to make films, and in reality, who really walks around in their regalia on a hill looking majestic like that? That's not really a representation of truth. But when somebody from Europe watches that little clip they might have seen on YouTube or on TikTok, they come over, maybe they come with the Stampede and or something, and they expect to see Native people just walking around in regalia like it's everyday clothes. That's not a representation of truth.
Hmm.
And so when you look at the way we've been represented in media over the years, there's a reason why Western films were so popular in the 1900s, because it was trying to sell this idea of manifest destiny, that this land is up for grabs, or that we are like these outsiders, these savages that are threatening the town or the saloon or like the stagecoach, or like we're always on the outside. We're a part of like the natural wild that's trying to prevent progress from happening. And I think you see that fairy tale in Western films and in sports logos, and in mascots and in Halloween costumes. It's this really weird thing of like romanticizing us and also making us a villain at the same time.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Um, and so I think, like that was our relationship with cinema,
Hmm.
and to image, and a lot of people's relationship to like indigenous people was through like these films.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the way we interact with like pictures, is that like if we see it, we believe it. Like
Hmm.
if you had never seen a giraffe in your life and I was like, hey, there's this animal with a really long neck and it has spots and it runs, it has hoofs, you'd be like, oh, you're full of baloney. That doesn't exist. But if I like, no, look at this picture, look at this video, and you're like, oh, okay, I believe you now.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with like indigenous people. If no one's ever interacted with an indigenous person, but you showed them this really racist video of them, they're gonna believe that that's the way indigenous people are. And
Hmm.
that's not just in like narrative fiction films. I think that's also in like documentary films or news stories about
Yeah.
us that we're always wanted or missing, or like some sort of criminal activity that
Ugh.
you can see us. And I've noticed that now that I've grown out my hair, is that like if I don't have it combed that day and I walk into a store, it's like people try to like suss out right away if I'm homeless or not, you know? And they don't, they just Googled me, they'll know who I am. But like,
Yeah.
but it's because of these like depictions of a native man with long hair and dark skin, like they jump to that conclusion right away.
Oh, 100%.
I think what is very harmful and problematic of that is when our own people start to believe that,
Yeah.
of like, that this is what everyone thinks I am. Okay, I'm gonna act like that. If you tell everyone, if everyone believes you're a bad kid, you're gonna act like a bad kid. But if you start to like believe that you have potential and that there's multiple ways to express yourself and not just in this violent, hard way, I think that can free up, the possibility to be a human being, somebody who's possible of growth and learning. And
100%.
so, yeah, so we're trying to deconstruct those ideas of masculinity, not just in what we put on screen, but yeah, how we show it in this verite, unobtrusive um, format. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for telling me all of that. I was reading that you're going to have screenings at the Calgary Film Festival, which is September 24th and 28th. You're going to be in Edmonton the 27th. You're going to be in Saskatoon the 28th, North Battleford the 30th, then to Victoria until October 4th, and then down to Lethbridge October 2nd. So so are you going back and forth to Victoria? Like, are you going on the 30th, coming back to Lethbridge and then going back to Victoria?
No, I'm just doing the prairie tour. So I'm just kind
Okay,
of going in, yeah, to Edmonton, Saskatoon, Lethbridge, and Calgary.
nice. Okay,
Yeah.
good, good, good. That's a lot of travel. What's
It
that
is.
like for you?
It's a part of like the film industry, I guess, to travel to your screenings and to show your film and to just like interact with the audiences. And I think it's really rewarding, especially when
Oh, good.
it's something to travel with your film to LA or Toronto or New Zealand, but to like it to travel within your territory and within the prairies, like who the film is made for, is another level of like of of specialness or cathartic release when you see the film with people who it's made for. And so
Yes.
like I'm excited for it. Yeah.
I'm excited for you. Oh my goodness. And I'm excited for all of the things you've already done. Like you're quite accomplished and you went to Mount Royal. What was that like? And I only ask because I think you're obviously an inspiring filmmaker. I think that when especially young Siksika boys see this, they're going to be like, how do I do this? And you went to Mount Royal. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it was yeah, I went to like, I majored in journalism in the communications program, and it was nice to yeah, be at a program where you can create every day. Like every day we were either writing or taking photographs or like or make taking video or coding, like just doing all these creative outlets. And I enjoyed the 4 years I was there and I learned a lot. And it also like yeah, just helped me mature as a person to be in university at that time, my early 20s. Um, and yeah, I think like I went to film school just before that in Vancouver. I went to an all indigenous film school,
Wow.
and it was yeah, I learned a lot about filmmaking, I learned a lot about indigenous cinema, and just to be surrounded by people like you making films have really sparked that, you know, the idea of like narrative sovereignty to own your own stories.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I also realized living in Vancouver how homesick I was for Siksika and Calgary. So to come back to Blackfoot country and to like just to feel like the land, like you'd feel it in a different way. Like it's really something to to be there. And like I think something like I was walking with my grandma one time and she there's a rainbow. We were walking after a rainstorm. There's a rainbow across the sky, and then I asked her, "What's the black word for rainbow?" And then she said it was destiny. It means, and I asked her, what does it mean? And she's like, rainbow. And I said, well, what is it describing? What does it really mean? And she said, well, it means like the worst of it is over.
Mm,
And then she looked up at it and then she was like, it's really something to like witness a rainbow
yeah.
because it's like an understanding of how creator works, like with the land. Like he's communicating to you through the land. And I was like, whoa, it just like blew my mind of like, how important the land is to you. And so like and yes, I think when you watch the film too, there's a lot of really beautiful landscape shots that I try to like always kind of I always kind of keep that little message my grandma gave me and try to um, portray that on film as best as I can.
I love that. Um, I'm my spirit name is with the Thunder Beings, and same with my daughter. But my daughter obviously identifying in a non-straight conforming way, which I love for them. And I found that really interesting. So I tell them, you know, first comes the thunder, then comes the rainbows. And she likes that too, or they like that too. So I try to, you know, really say that a lot so that they know how special they are, because rainbows are special. And, you know, I don't know why the 2S LGBTQ community kind of like took that as their symbol, but it helps kind of validate that part of her as well. So I appreciate that. One of the other things that Blackfoot have taught me is that the buffalo always goes into the storm to get it over quicker, as opposed to like following with the storm. And my husband, he's a big Buffalo Rock man, so he kind of is that. He stays in the storm, goes through the storm. He's married to a thunder being, and now we have a little rainbow. And I I don't get to tell that to a lot of people because, like, non-natives, they don't understand any of it. And for indigenous people, we understand it, but sometimes it's really I don't want to be giving teachings either on a podcast when those are special for our people, not for, you know, general consumption. And then misunderstandings too. Like as a Satu Dene, we have different teachings sometimes than even the Sutina Dene, let alone what a Blackfoot person would say in Blackfoot territory, right? And I'm in your territory, so I go with your teachings. That's how it works, as you know. That's how it works. What was the highlight of making this film, and what was something you felt like you had to cut that you didn't want to cut?
Yeah, well, we filmed this over 90 days of filming and like four over the span of 4 years. And so I think it was just really nice to like um have that dedicated time to be in my community and to film in this like organic way that wasn't like pressed with like a schedule or like, you know, we have to fill these 90 days with like 10 hours. Like it was just filming when I want, where I wanted, and not trying to like have the kind of like hurry up and wait kind of pressures of filmmaking that we usually have. Like my producer Cody Savard at the NFP really created that environment for me to explore and play and wonder. And um yeah, so that was nice. And I think just like I filmed a lot with my nephew Colt. And I think now he's turning 13, but when we filmed he was in that you know, from age 9 till 12 or 8 to 12. And he was in that really, I think, wonderful state of a child where like he wasn't really aware of how he looked or like how he um you know, presented himself. I think teenagers get to a point where they're very self-aware of
Mm,
their image or their peers,
yeah.
where Colt was just, he just played and he was just like in that wonder and creativity. And I think a lot of us artists wish we can go back there to like reclaim that kind of childhood perspective. And so I think when filming with him, I kind of would get back get to go back to those moments in brief little stints. And so it was really nice to film with him. And yeah, like sometimes he, you know, I told him about the project when I started, but throughout it, he kind of forgot about what it was about. And he just always expected me to have the camera. And yeah, towards the end, he's like, Uncle, how come you're always filming me? And
Right on.
I
Has
was
he
like,
seen the finished project, or
yeah, he's seen it.
what does he think?
I think he like, you know, now he's a teenager, so he cringes of like what he was wearing or like, you
Yeah.
know, of his like his childhoodness, I guess, you know, and kids that kind of get stuck on a phrase and they say it over and over again. And like he's like, oh, I can't believe I was like that. And so but I think they,
My daughter's like that too. I feel that.
yeah, you know, they've been in like all of my films, like if it's Tales from the Res or G'day Kidopi, they've always had this kind of like they're like Colt has had credit on APTN and CBC, you know, before the age of 13. And I don't think they get quite grasp how big that is.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I think of Paul Siksikakowan who does that great work of like, hey, here's a picture of some natives. Who are they? What's their name? And like, you're already way past that. You're like, no, this is my nephew. This is his name. This is what I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Well, thank you. And Tales for the Res, okay, so this is kind of my thing is that I'm always listening to your kind of stuff like that. I have another book from a soup. He wrote this really great book about little tiny stories, and they're more modern day, which makes them even better. So I always watch that stuff on the TikToks too. I don't know if you're on the TikToks. I love the TikToks. So, but I never reshare because I don't know if they're AI sometimes, but
Yeah.
yours I know isn't. So that's why, of course, I share it. Not on the TikToks. I'm just meaning social media in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Sorry, like the apps in general. I love that stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited for you, and I want to congratulate you on all of the wonderful work you've always done. Now you're winning awards, which is even better. I want that for all of our native kids. Like I was trying to say to Michelle Thrush, she out of all people know there just wasn't representation, and we were so dry at some point in time. I even liked Twilight at the moment, even though there wasn't even all natives on there, you know. So much I feel like has changed in such a short period of time, and it's because of folks like you and the peers that you're working with. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you so much, so that my daughter has representation, and so that the next generations actually have real representation and not some caricatures that I don't know, some other group made up. It's important to me that we start telling our stories, and that was kind of the impetus of the podcast. Even was to be able to talk about it without having to worry about losing funding because I don't like XYZ of the nonprofit world or whichever. So I appreciate you being on my podcast, but I also appreciate just you in general, all the work you're doing. Grateful that our next generation has you and folks like you to help bring up more folks like this up. So thank you.
Mm. I appreciate it. Yeah. Warms
Yeah.
my heart to hear you say that.
Oh, it is really important. I wish we could expand it more so that's just mainstream media as opposed to APTN is still kind of a segregation, right? And I don't love that, but I live in that world. And I wish that the non-Indigenous people would catch up and see us for who we are and not I don't know. Well, I don't want to talk on behalf of them, but I do want to say that I'm grateful for you and I'm grateful our kids get you and folks like you in order to help them see this world that we have that's always going to be like something worth pride.
Mm.
Internalized racism was something I still work on it, actually. I still have to work on my internalized racism. So for me, having kids get to see that and not have to worry about, these depictions, I'm so grateful. So, is there anything else you'd like to add actually about the film, Siksikakowan, that you're going to be releasing?
Trying to think. Mm. Yeah, well, I hope that audiences take away that through watching this film that you're able to see Indigenous men as real human beings who are having a human experience, and I think that is the real cure for racism is empathy. And so I hope that at the end of the day, this film creates empathy, and I hope that if you are an Indigenous person, that you're able to feel seen and validated, and that these seemingly mundane moments in your life have value as well, that you don't have to sensationalize or romanticize your own existence as an indigenous person, but you just hanging out at your grandma's house is worth capturing on film, and that's a human experience. And to honor your emotions, I think I was asked, like after making this film, what does it mean to be a real man? I think it's to be authentic and to honor your emotions, at any given
Mm.
time. And I think that when sometimes something happens to you and you react in this kind of bold, angry way, I think you're allowed to have anger, you're allowed to have sadness, you're allowed to have happiness. Your emotions are real. It's up to you of how you want to react to those emotions and how
Mm,
you want to treat others and treat yourself.
yeah.
And so I think this, I think as this film is like, yeah, coming home of indigenous manhood and like reclaiming your own emotions and this journey to wholeness that we don't have to take alone anymore. We have each other.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about your film and telling us what it was like to do this and just being a fantastic role model in general for all of us. Even for myself, I'm, kind of periphery doing this podcast stuff and watching folks in media, and I see them do a great job like yourself. And I'm so grateful for folks like you so that the next generations have positivity. And I'm just looking forward to always having that now. So thank you.
Mm. Yeah. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah. How lucky was I to be able to have him come here and talk about that? Just wanted to give a shout out to our book club that's coming up, Arc of the Medicine Line by Tony Reeves for November, only because we're having a very strong conversation about the US Canadian border. If you care about the Reconciliation Action Group, please join. We will be part of the September 30th events that are happening. I may not be there. I have a tobacco commitment somewhere, so we'll see how that works out. Anyway, I do hope that as of now, people are going to be doing their reconciliation action kind of guidelines, looking at the 94 calls to action and wondering, geez, what have I done over the past year? What are my goal settings for next year? Did I achieve last year's goal settings? I sure hope this is part of your world and that is something that you're progressing to do. And you don't even have to share my stuff. Please be sharing the Horse Warriors. Please be sharing his past work with the National Film Board, APTN, CBC, because he's a wonderful filmmaker. And if you are a Treaty 7 member, this is a perfect opportunity for you to be talking about a Treaty 7 member that you're aware of. So, Masicho to my ancestors, to my granny and my mom of what strength looks like through your examples, to my dad for teaching me to be strong and blunt, my stepmom for showing me her proud Austrian family roots, culture, and teaching me to be a proud Calgarian. Big Buffalo Rockman, my husband. He produces and edits the show, but he's my husband. He's my childhood friend. He's my best friend today, father of our child. He's the one who has witnessed decades of racism and sexism. We grew up together. To our child, we are blessed to learn from you daily. We are honored you chose us. You give me daily accountability to be a better and stronger person. I just hope that my family will be proud in the future of us discussing these things today. I honor the Blackfoot. The elders members have been so kind to me on my Red Road journey. Elder Red Crane taught me how to pronounce my spirit name in Blackfoot. Leonard Kenny taught me how to say it in Satu Dene. My humblest apologies to the elders and language keepers as I try to learn proper pronunciation. My Patreon account is Native Calgarian, where you can pledge and support. Thank you, previous donors, for showing your support. If you value listening or watching and can afford to give, thank you. For those who cannot afford to give, I'd love to hear from you at nativeyyc@gmail.com, where you can send in your comments or questions. I also have a YouTube channel that you can go and subscribe. Go to nativecalgarian.com for the latest podcasts and pin posts on social media. And the last thing I want to say is those Calgary rabbits are lucky I'm not your dish. And my beautiful cousin would respond, or you'd be in my dish. Thank you so much, folks, for listening.